Alright, hello everyone, Journaluke here, jumping into the warm-up before Daily Race B here, and if you saw the title of this video, you could already draw the conclusion that my experience in this race was enjoyable to say the least. Which I would say this race you're about to see is what the Gran Turismo community should strive for, and I really think all racing should be this way. Everyone followed good racing etiquette, there wasn't much dirty driving, people just being considerate of other people on the same track, and that's just such a good feeling. Not to mention, too, it was a very competitive race. Very close race. Kept pressure on me the whole time. I can't tell you guys enough of this race you're about to see is going to have you on the edge of your seat, or at least it did for me. So enjoy. Okay, so we're off to Mount Panorama, and I have pole position, so things are already looking pretty good for me. And I also want to take the time to flex the awesome Sonic the Hedgehog livery on my Ferrari there, which you can see on the top right-hand side of the screen. Now, keep an eye on this guy behind me, Ryu1000R, I think is how you pronounce his username. This guy behind me is so good. He was putting so much pressure on me during the entirety of the whole race, which you're about to see. So we're off, and then heading into turn number 1 here, just really hoping that there's not going to be carnage that unfolds in some of these daily races, which there is not. I make it through just fine. Got a good exit speed there into the front straight. Just making sure I can maintain the lead. I don't know why I'm already checking behind me so often. Maybe I'm just that nervous. And into the braking zone. Still nobody has hit me from behind, so we're doing pretty good. It's a good race so far. Trying to maintain the lead already. Still got about a 6.6 second lead ahead of the guy behind me. Clipping that apex nice and tight. Taking this next section to make sure I don't have to lift off the throttle at all. Get that right angle on it. Part here I have to lift off just a tad, but not as much as I have to lift off here. Still make it just enough to where I don't have to lift off the throttle again. Now coming into the most tricky section of the whole track. This whole place is going downhill, and you have to manage maintaining a proper driving line while going downhill, which really impacts the physics of how long you have to brake, how much brake to apply, and all that. And this is the most crucial exit of the whole track. It's really hard to get that exit just right, and it's going to really impact this whole back straight here, which I nailed it that time. So I'm pulling away from Ryu there just a little bit, but he's still just about 0.2 of a second behind me, and we're pulling away from the rest of the pack. So this is turning into a battle between me and this Ryu guy. So I was just hoping that when I brake there he wasn't going to rear end me, which he didn't, so at least we're both racing very clean. We're both being considerate of each other. Coming up into the last turn before we enter lap number 2. I managed to maintain the lead for a whole lap, which is good. Now I just got to keep that lead. I'm driving mainly defensively, so I keep checking behind me, and the pressure I was feeling was just astronomical, guys. I mean, it's one thing to just see this on a video, but while I was doing this race and seeing how close this guy was behind me and just nobody else up next to us, that's how far ahead we were from the rest of the pack, and just me and him, how much he just kept breathing down my neck for this whole race was just putting so much pressure on me that I'm willing to admit that I was shaking even a little bit, and I was getting pretty nervous. Might have even been sweating a little bit, so. Anyways, definitely got to just maintain that lead. Pulling away a little bit, I got a little bit of a good exit, a little bit of a better exit than he did from the first straight. Leading into this section here, again, just want to make sure that you get just the right time to turn in there to where your angle's good enough to where you don't have to let off at all. But then coming into here, you got to let off just a tad, and then let off a little bit more up here to make it, and then leading into the most difficult part of the track again up here. This is where I feel the most pressure because this is so hard to get just right there. This whole section going downhill is so tricky, and he could easily get the jump on me during this part. But you gotta get it just right. If you go on the throttle just a tad bit early there, things can go south real quick since you're going downhill. I mean, the back end of your car can swing out easily when you're going back on the throttle, exiting turns going downhill. So I felt a little bit of a relief of pressure exiting there, knowing I have the better exit speed than him going on this back straight. He's now a little over half a second behind me, so that's an improvement, but it's still very close. So I'm still feeling pressure, and I was feeling pressure the entire time of this whole race. Now we're just coming up to the last section here of lap 2. Things are looking still pretty good. I still got about a 0.6 second lead ahead of him. Make sure I get that good exit coming out into this section here. Gaining a little bit more. I'm getting a 0.7 second lead ahead of him. Things are looking good entering the last lap here. Get that good exit. Okay, I think I'm in the clear there. I'm gaining, except it looks like the time between me and him is going down 0.6, 0.5. So he must be getting the slipstream on me here. And that's why I was driving a little bit left and right, trying to make sure that he has to keep guessing where I'm going to be to just try to deny him of that slipstream. Which I did in the lap before this, and I think he was starting to get the hang of my tricks up my sleeve, so he wasn't falling for that again. Getting that apex nice and tight. Half a second ahead of him here. And at this point, I'm feeling pretty confident. I think all I got to do is just maintain what I've done in the last few laps. Do this for just one more lap and secure that victory. Can I do it? Just looking pretty stiff here. Again, there is nobody behind me and him. We're way ahead of the whole pack, and it's basically just become a battle between me and Ryu. Entering the most difficult part of the track again. This is where I get the most nervous. Can I make it? Going back on the throttle, nice and easy. This is where I try to be too nice and easy there. Brake just a tad bit too early. He's getting the jump on me. And he's catching up. Every time I turn around and look behind me, he's getting closer and closer. And he's definitely getting a very strong slipstream on me here, so I take a defensive position just driving in the middle of this very narrow back straight. Try not to give him any room to squeeze in. But as we're leading up to this last section of turns here, he manages to aggressively squeeze in. He takes the inside. Can I still get the victory? I had to let off the throttle just a little bit with some minor contact there, but no harm, no foul. And it looks like he's going to take it. But can I get a better exit speed on this last turn before the finish line? Not quite. But I'm getting the slipstream right behind him. And I cross the line just 0.2 of a second behind him to make this one of the best and most competitive races I've ever had. This was just such a good experience, and I can't say enough positive things about it. And honestly, there was some minor contact at the end, yes, but he practiced very proper racing etiquette, and he kept me on my toes. I felt so much pressure racing against this guy, so major props to him. And this was just a very, very fun race. I couldn't stop thinking about this race for the rest of the day. And that's just what we need to strive for in this community. It's what I think every race should be. It's just a fantastic experience. So after the race here, I was just sending some good positive feedback to him. You know how it goes. If you pay attention to the message that he actually sends back to me here, It felt nice to get a message from him saying that I made him have to earn this victory. He says, "You made me have to earn it." And I'll zoom in on that message, actually. Anyways, that's all for today's video, guys. Race fast, race clean, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Game over.